Welcome to your Daily 5 for Monday, June 16th, 2025. I saw late last week that Paramount has announced that Strange New Worlds, the wildly fun Star Trek series, will be concluding after 5 seasons with a shortened 5th season of 6 episodes as opposed to the standard 10. Now this is 2, 3, maybe a month ahead. No, I don't even think it's a month at this point. This is a few weeks, 2-3 weeks ahead of the debut of the 3rd season. And so people are saying, people obviously reacted very negatively in terms of not wanting the show to end. But I think a lot of people also recognized, and would be my opinion as well, and we've talked about this many times on the show together, and also I've said this on Fives myself, that at least they've got a season and a half to now wind everything up. They have notice of when the show is going to come to an end, which hopefully means that the writers will be able to craft a suitable ending, as opposed to what has happened to shows many times, especially in the streaming era, where they think everything's going fine, and then suddenly they find out in between seasons that there will be no next season, and they are left with a massive cliffhanger, because I'm pretty sure all these streaming networks want you to end with a hook to get people to come back so that they'll keep subscribing for when the show comes back. And so you put a cliffhanger in place, don't wrap your storylines up, and then, you get canceled. And suddenly everybody who was a fan of the show is left in the lurch on what the actual story conclusion was supposed to be. There are, of course, the rare examples where there is some kind of wrap-up movie, a Farscape style thing that is meant to kind of bring the storylines to as much of a conclusion as possible. But many times, we're just left with nothing. I've talked about Archive 81, is that what it was called? The show that I was a really big fan of until it had a massive cliffhanger at the end and then, unsurprisingly, was canceled thereafter. And so this is probably a good thing. And we've also talked about, I know I've done Fives about, talking about the idea that 5 to 7 seasons of a show is probably as much as any show needs. Now, some people will debate that saying, well, yeah, but in the old days, they had 24 episodes to tell a story. Now it's typically 10 to 12. Well, I don't think episode length or number really matters. I think storytelling is what matters, and as long as you know that you only have so many episodes left, it is going to make you evaluate what stories you're telling and basically trim out everything but the most successful stories. And I think that's a good thing. Just going on and on and on and filling time and filling episodes almost never works out in the benefit of a show long term. We've seen how many examples of that. So I think this is ideally about the best case scenario possible. Now, the showrunners are saying they always intended it to be 5 seasons. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but it would have been far worse if they'd gone off in season, the end of season 5 with some kind of big setup for a 6th season they intended to end the show in, and then suddenly were canceled in the interim and there was no resolution. So I look at this as hopefully a sign that they'll be able to wind things up in a way that is, if it's not necessarily what their original timeline was for everything, they can probably get it pretty close. And at least it's not going to have the 5th season end again on a cliffhanger, because I think that really does bother a lot of people. When you get to the end of something, you're waiting for more, and suddenly you're just never going to get more of it. I've talked about the fact that this is why I don't start a lot of shows anymore, is because a lot of them have this problem. So I'm actually really, look, could the show have gone for 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes or seasons and been really good? Sure, of course it's possible. I don't know. I can't really tell you for sure what the future would have held. But I think that if you were to ask me before this announcement, would you rather see Strange New Worlds go for 5 guaranteed seasons where they knew they were going to end after that time, or 8 to 10 series and they might get canceled anytime in between? I would have opted for the 5 seasons with a definite end date, because it means that we're going to get some kind of ending. Now, will it be a Star Trek kind of ending where they'll leave a door open for probably a reboot of the original series or something? I'm sure it will, but at least I would guess, unless they really do something dumb, that this particular crew and this particular story is going to be brought to some kind of end. I mean, we already know, I'm sorry, this is, I guess, a spoiler, sort of. We already know where Pike's going to end up. That's not really a surprise if you're anybody who's watched Star Trek at all and has an awareness of the character. So it's not like we knew that there was only so far that certain journeys were going to go. So again, I look at this news and I think that in the end, it will probably be positive. We'll have to wait and see to know for sure. But to me, this is actually good news. Later.